look at this NBA Cup. You have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way. And it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York. And now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Crosby has now left the team, by the way. He's pissed. Anyway, look at it, he's angry. He wants to play. He doesn't like what they're doing here. There's all sort of speculation.
This might be the final straw, George, for him there?
Like,
I don't know why he stays. Yeah, I know. The thing is, he's got a Raider freaking tattoo. Like, the guy loves the Raiders. Like, he really does love playing for the Raiders. But and now, like you said, he's not happy about this.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Good afternoon. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Happy holidays, and get ready because we got the new year coming. 2026 is right around the corner. But before we go forward, we take a look back. We've got Vinny Iyer from Sporting News and Jacob Kamaker from USA Today to break down the very latest in the National Football League. In addition, we bring in our SportsGrid insider, Adam Kaplan, as we get ready to wrap up another week and look ahead toward the NFL playoffs. A lot of football discussion. Naturally, college football playoffs also upon us this week. We've got a New Year's Eve game. We've got a New Year's Day, several games as well. We're going to figure out who's going to get to the semis and then the college football national championship. It was a very exciting finish to the week in the NFL, and we do have a couple of very big games coming up this week that will decide who is in and who is out with a couple of divisions. One of the things was wrapped up pretty tight last night in one of the best games of the NFL season. The San Francisco 49ers and Chicago Bears just went toe-to-toe, scoring points constantly, tied at 7, tied at 14, tied at 21, tied at 28, tied at 35, and then eventually the 49ers end up taking this one because the Chicago Bears failed to score a touchdown late. They were near the goal line. Awesome game, 42-38 the final. The 49ers now controlling their own destiny. A win next week. They're the number 1 overall seed in the National Football Conference. That's the NFC, not the AFC. And by the way, the 49ers could potentially get to a Super Bowl where they would play it in their home building in February. What a game last night. Here's Kyle Shanahan on the Chicago Bears, playing great, but just coming up short against his team.
They stepped it up huge, man. I mean, that team's had more fourth quarter comebacks, I think, than anyone in the history of the NFL. There's a lot we can clean up from the whole game. Probably made too many mistakes, but to get it done, they're at their best when their best was needed, and to stop them on that last drive was huge.
That's a tough one for our guys. It's somewhat similar there to the Green Bay game a few weeks ago, just in terms of coming down to the last minute and last play of the game and just coming up one play short there. So, the first half certainly didn't go the way we wanted it to as a team. They controlled the ball. They did a good job building a lead there, down by 7 at halftime. We couldn't stay on the field on offense. We were 0 for 3 on third downs. They were 5 for 7 on third downs in that first half, and yet second half, I did feel like we picked up our game a little bit as a team, and we closed that gap and we made it to where we could potentially win that thing there at the end. So was proud of the guys for that.
And now we get to the other games in the NFL, maybe not as exciting, but certainly the end result in the last couple of minutes saw the Philadelphia Eagles in a very low-scoring slog beat the Buffalo Bills 13-12. Buffalo went for a 2-point conversion, which they did not complete. That essentially ended the game. The Bills are favored. Now they're destined to go on the road in the playoffs. Total was 45.5, so this went under. Eagles, of course, have already wrapped up the division. Here's Nick Sirianni on needing some offense as we move forward here.
You got to give yourself points when you win football games. There's always things to clean up when you come out of a football game. But if you come out of a football game where you win on the road again in a hostile environment, man, they got really good fans against a really good football team that's had the sustained success that we have. Like if you come out of this and you're just thinking about all the negative things that happen, that makes for a miserable existence. We'll get there. We'll get to what we need to clean up, and really good first half by the offense, not a great second half, and a lot of different reasons why. I'm never gonna. Winning's hard in this league, and I'm always gonna enjoy a win. And then I'm going to be really hypercritical on myself first and foremost, and then the rest of the guys after that, and the coaches. So you feel great.
Meanwhile, the hottest team in the NFL remains the Jacksonville Jaguars. They win again, 7 straight wins on the doorstep of winning the AFC South. They need one more. They were 4.5-point favorites. They beat Indianapolis on the road, 23-17. Led once again by Trevor Lawrence, who rushed for a couple of touchdowns. Liam Cohen said a lot of his players, like the rest of the league, seemingly sick going into the game, but coming out with the win.
Guys that came up sick today, and a ton of them were key contributors as well. So very proud of the group, going on the road in the division again, getting a huge win.
This sets you up next week for winning the division titles right there.
Yeah.
So, I'm assuming you're not going to have to use the disrespect thing for that next week?
No, we had a pretty chippy battle against those guys the first time we played them. Know that it's going to be a physical football game. They're coming off, I don't know what obviously they're up to, but they came off a good win against Kansas City, physical football game. We know what kind of players they have, and that quarterback keeps getting better. So, yeah, this is definitely an opportunity for us to continue to ascend and get better.
Not all is rosy in the NFL. Just ask the Pittsburgh Steelers. All they needed to do was beat the Cleveland Browns. They couldn't get it done. Now they got to play a win or go home game against the Baltimore Ravens coming up on Sunday. They lose 13-6 in Cleveland. Mike Tomlin certainly knows what is next for his team after a tough divisional loss.
Tough, hard-fought AFC North matchup. We certainly didn't make enough plays today, and they did. You got to compliment those guys on an outstanding winning effort, and it's back to work for us. We've been here before, and so certainly we got a big week ahead of us, man, in a big game in Acrisure next weekend. From an injury standpoint, man, Darnell Washington had a broken arm. He wasn't able to go back in. The rest are just bumps and bruises associated with play. Questions?
Mike, you surprised your team played like you did with so much on the line?
I didn't think we played poorly. We just didn't make enough plays. I thought they played well. I thought the game was kind of unfolding in the way that you would anticipate, but we never made that signature play that kind of got us over the hump. That generally is the deciding factor in games like this, and we generally make them. We didn't make them today.
Sunday night, Ravens and Steelers for the division. Meanwhile, Derrick Henry had his best game of the season. The Ravens did stay alive. They beat the Packers 41-24 on the road. Henry had 216 rushing yards. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers will play the Carolina Panthers for the division Saturday afternoon. What in the world is going on with Tampa Bay? They lose again, this time to the Dolphins in Miami, 20-17. The Bucs were huge favorites in this one. The Dolphins looked like the better team. Baker Mayfield at this point searching for answers.
Physical mistakes are going to happen, but then later on, some of those penalties really hurt us to not get some points, and then obviously the blocked field goal. So that's just a matter of execution of, not shooting yourself in the foot in the first half. And the second half, that second interception 21 did a good job of he's rolling back to the middle of the field. It's cover 3, but he went off my eyes and reacted and stopped and went back for it. So for me, it's don't just assume that he's going to be where he's supposed to be. But football players make plays, and he made a good play right there and read my eyes. So offensively, it comes back to execution. We obviously gave ourselves a fighting chance right there, but didn't do enough, and those turnovers obviously crushed us. So got to come back, and here's the thing: we still have a chance next week. We have been blessed with a chance next week, and guys need to handle it the right way. I think Levante spoke to the team right after the game and hit the nail on the head. So got to respond.
Big second half for the Seahawks as they beat the Panthers 27-10. Again, Seattle will play next week for the division as well. Patriots already have things wrapped up. They beat the Jets in the first 5 minutes of the game, but the final score is 42-10. They win in MetLife. Finally, the Giants beat the Raiders on Sunday, so the Raiders look like they're going to have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Second year in a row that this has happened to the Giants, or second out of the last 3 years, 34-10. Saints beat the Titans 34-26. New Orleans finishing the season strong. They've won 4 straight games. And the Cincinnati Bengals, led by Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, he threw 2 touchdowns to Chase in this one. They beat the hapless Arizona Cardinals, who have lost 7 games in a row to wrap up their season. They'll do that next week. Vinny Iyer will join us courtesy of Sporting News when we come back next. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid on this Monday. Don't go away.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways: half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Arvel Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a Joe Bowman show.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting
Who is that?
here, but I have no idea.
You need to know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Vinny Iyer is with us to wrap up the week in the National Football League. One game on Monday night. We'll get to that in just a minute. But first, let's bring Vinny in to recap what happened on Sunday. Vinny, we got a real treat on Sunday Night Football. One of the best games of the year, 42-38. The 49ers score on every single possession but one. We actually saw their punter in the game for the first time in a while. The 49ers are basically rolling on all cylinders at this point. And look, give the credit to the Bears, by the way, too. I mean, they already had the division wrapped up. It still looked like they were playing hard, playing for everything there. They just came up a bit short.
Yeah, shows you how fun the NFC playoffs are going to be. Caleb Williams changes the game for the Bears. They have now a legitimate quarterback who can win games, and it doesn't matter what the score is. In the fourth quarter, he's going to give them a chance in most contests. Now, with Brock Purdy, I think he's been much maligned. I think he was not fully healthy when he returned from the turf toe early in the season. Now you're seeing in total sync of the offense here. Christian McCaffrey staying healthy helps. Usually when Trent Williams went down, you'd see Brock Purdy melt down. That did not happen in this game, so you can see the sign of maturity there. You also got it done without George Kittle, his favorite target. So this was a big moment for Brock Purdy, just to give them a little bit more confidence going to the playoffs. He's on a hot streak right now, and he's got to finish strong. In Seattle, the first time in week one was a low-scoring, ugly game. He has a chance to make up for that and play a lot better the second time around. So it should be a lot of fun for that number one seed and the NFC West title there on Saturday night.
Yeah, Purdy was unstoppable. So was Christian McCaffrey. I know that he looked like he was a little banged up at the end there, but San Francisco certainly has, from the middle of the season to the end of the season, looked like one of the most dominant teams in the NFL. And Caleb Williams also, to his credit, threw for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. Excellent game for him. Seattle looked like maybe they were going to give this one up to Carolina in the first half of the game. And then, unfortunately, the Panthers, their offense, Vinny, as you know, is not going to ever be fantastic. And unfortunately for them in this one, it was less than even that. 27-10 was the final. Seattle's defense certainly very strong. They put themselves in a really good position. But again, credit to the Panthers. They got themselves to this point, even with this loss. Vinny, the way the Bucs are playing, I think there's a chance the Panthers go on the road and beat Tampa Bay this week.
Yeah, in a weird pattern, the Panthers have won and lost in now 10 consecutive weeks. They've gone win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. So I guess they're due for a win here in Week 18. That would be the next outcome against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have fallen, by the way, to 1-7 in the second half of the season. They started at 6-2. That team is just free falling right now. Todd Bowles is in a lot of trouble. He called out his players. I don't think they appreciated that too much just 2 weeks ago. So I think Dave Canales is okay. I think the Panthers have overachieved no matter what, even if they finish 8-9 and do not win this division. But I think Todd Bowles might be gone if the Buccaneers don't win this. The second half has been terrible, and it's a lot on him and the defense and the scheming. So I do like the Panthers to kind of steal this one and maybe a coaching change coming up in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I know they're saying all the right things with Todd Bowles, but I agree with you. I don't see how he survives if they lose this game this week. Odds makers are telling us, by the way, that essentially Tampa Bay and Carolina are the two teams that have no shot to win the NFC, despite the fact that they're going to host a playoff game. Rams are still the favorite, but as you could see, Seattle and San Francisco right there. The Eagles are not playing inspiring football, but if they play that kind of defense, they probably can win any game. And then you have the Bears and certainly the Packers. There's Tampa Bay 45-1. You mentioned the Bucs. They lose to the Dolphins 20-17. So at this point, Baker Mayfield goes from an MVP candidate in October to maybe out of the playoffs in December. Credit to Miami. They looked left for dead, playing with like 7 backup options on offense. Basically everybody hurt and still playing them. And by the way, I think, Vinny, if I'm not mistaken, let's take a look at the odds here. I thought I heard something to be said for a 1% chance that the Falcons could still make the playoffs if they beat the Rams tonight. The Panthers are 8-8. The Bucs are 7-9. I didn't even think that was possible. I thought that they were eliminated from the playoffs. Did you hear that last night? I thought I heard them say that.
Maybe it was from a Falcons fan that had too much eggnog or something, but they're not in the playoffs at all at this rate.
They're out
even
for
the
sure?
Vikings. Yeah, they're out for sure. The Vikings are right up there. Actually, the Vikings would now be the 8th team if they win this week. They could end up 9-8, which is crazy. They could end up ahead of the Lions here. They are ahead of the Lions going into Week 18. So, yeah, I don't know what you're going to get from the Rams, by the way. That's something to watch tonight. The Rams have said they do not care about the seeding, so they could be resting players as early as tonight. So watch for that potentially if you're leaning on the Rams side. Sean McVay does not care, especially now that they're wild card only. He doesn't care who they play in the first round.
So let's look at this game. So what's interesting, Vinny, is that I thought the same thing because in my fantasy league, I really blew it. I don't know what you would have done, but going into, it's a championship, so I don't know what you would have done. I played Kenneth Gainwell over Breece Hall. Hall had done nothing I played him every game all season long. I'm like, I'm done And then had I played Hall, I would have been up 30 tonight against Matthew Stafford. Instead, I'm up 12. Now, I'm fully expecting to lose, Vinny. But the point that you make is the point that I was thinking last night. Like, what if Stafford doesn't play in the second half of this game? They're 7.5-point favorites on the road at Atlanta. The line has come down. The total is 49.5. Maybe it's just wishful thinking on my part, but I mean, this game opens up and Kyren Williams rushes for a touchdown. I'm sort of thinking I got a shot to stay in this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because look, I mean, Matthew Stafford is old and he's had some injury issues. And why would you take a chance? I mean, if you're the favorites right now in the NFC, why would you want to put him out there? Puka Nacua is always hurt, right? In and out of games all the time. Devontae Adams has had the hamstring injury. So I think they're going to be very careful with what they do out there the final 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure they're going to rest most of their guys for most of the game against the Cardinals, if not all of it, in Week 18. But tonight will be interesting. We'll see what happens. I haven't heard too many comments, but McVay has totally said they do not care about what wild card seed they have.
Heard that too. So let's look at Saturday real quick before you go. We got 30 seconds left. You're with me here, right? You take the Panthers +3, total 43.5 Saturday afternoon, right? Yeah.
Yep, I'm on that. Yep. I do like
right.
They're just up and down. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I can't back Tampa Bay at this point. Line tells you everything in a deciding game. All right, Vinny, have a great weekend. Thanks, or week. Thanks again. Happy New Year as well.
Oh, thanks a lot, Craig.
All right, we'll come back next. We'll hear from Phillip Rivers' swan song in the NFL, we think, in the SportsGrid 60. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid. Don't go away.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways: half court, full court, running gun, walk it up, and they out execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Arvil Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a joke on me, Joe.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting
Who is that?
here, but I have no idea.
Do you even know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. It's time that we hear from Phillip Rivers, who could be facing the end of the line for a second time with his NFL career, as Pete Carroll facing the end of the line with the Raiders. And also Myles Garrett has one more game to get that sack record. It's time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. It sure sounds like this return for Phillip Rivers is coming to an end. Last week, they lose 23-17 against the Indianapolis Colts, and it appears as though Indianapolis may want to take another look at Riley Leonard or maybe even Anthony Richardson in the final game of the season. The Colts, who were heavily favored to win the division, have been eliminated. Just too many injuries for them. Meanwhile, it appears that Rivers is content with the 3-game mini stretch that he had with the Colts, with his second career coming to an end in the NFL.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it is, and again, I'm going to be on board and supportive of whatever the organization, Shane, and however that decision is going to come to be. I'm sure I'll have some conversation. It won't just be a blindside Tuesday, conversation from him. And I'm going to be on board to do what's best for the guys. I mean, if this was the last one, I told you guys I wasn't going to have any regrets about coming back, and I don't. It's other than us not winning, right? Us not winning. It's been an absolute blast for 3 weeks. I wouldn't, if I go back and say, all right, now you know everything's going to happen, what are you going to do? I'd do it all again. It's been absolutely awesome. So, yeah, I mean, if it's the last one, it's the last one. I thought the last one was walking off the field in Buffalo, walking up that tunnel, and I was fine with that. And that one had tears those few days after it, and I was at peace with that being the last one. So certainly if it is, I got 3 bonus games that I never saw coming, and couldn't be more thankful that I got the opportunity.
Meanwhile, it looks like Fernando Mendoza, Indiana quarterback, who you'll see play this week, probably going to be wearing a Raiders jersey in his immediate future. The Giants beat the Raiders 34-10. Las Vegas now in line for the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft. They sat several players due to injury this week, including Pro Bowlers Max Crosby and Brock Bowers, but Pete Carroll said that is specifically why they lost their 10th in a row this week.
Max is pretty good, and he carries a lot of weight, and Brock, same, Chin, same, all those guys were hurt. They were hurt. And I know the stories go otherwise, but they were hurt. And so unfortunate, but they knew.
But in terms of not effort so much, but, that percentage point of a percentage point when you're a little bit checked out, that kind of a performance can happen.
No, I don't think it has. That is the issue. I think the issue is those guys weren't playing, and then we go down a level, and Mike Mayer had a great game for us today. I mean, just a great game in filling in for Brock, and I can't say anybody on defense, picked it up. It was obvious, in terms of filling in for Max, but we tried, and we did all that we could to try to get a good game out of us. And the unfortunate part is when you get the kickoff return, it's like, okay, and that's all 3 faces, have a an axe to grind and all that in a sense. I don't know. It was just a mess. It was a mess.
Season's been a mess for the Raiders. Myles Garrett still needs a sack to break the record. He did not get to Aaron Rodgers despite the win on Sunday. Browns pick up a 13-6 win, which Garrett is thrilled with, but he definitely wants to get this record, and he's got 1 more week to do it.
How good does it feel to to beat the Steelers, to prevent them from clinching, and to close out the season like that at home against?
Feels great. Our rival, you always want to beat them. Doesn't matter the circumstances. We line up. We want to beat those guys, and so I'm glad to have opportunity to do it and get the job done.
Did it feel like you came close a couple times to that record?
For sure, but I mean, they kind of fell under the same line of thinking that the Packers did. We'll just throw everything at them and see if we can muster effort to win without it.
How much do you feel, Myles, that your presence intimidated them to throw as quickly as they did?
Quick? I mean, that's their MO, but of course they're going to throw even quicker when I'm lined up on that side. They had a chipper there, sometimes 2 chippers, and getting out quick. Sometimes they're rolling away. They're doing a little bit of everything, and I kind of come to expect that. I know they didn't want me to be the one to break it against them.
I think right now the key is for Garrett to get that sack early and not have to worry about it in the 3rd and 4th quarter of this week's game. Also, big announcement, Marcus Freeman is staying at the University of Notre Dame. Makes it official today. He will not entertain any offers from the National Football League. He was expected to potentially get an offer from a team coming up later this winter. Let's take a quick time out here on News. While we come back next, Jacob Kammerger joins us courtesy of USA Today. Don't go away.
Whether we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology. We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way, and it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York, and now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Jacob Kamaker is with us from USA Today, weighing in on the National Football League and the upcoming final week and then playoffs. Jacob, great to have you back here on NewsWire, and happy holidays, happy New Year to you as well. Not very happy for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The last thing that they wanted to do, Jacob, going into last week was think, all right, Ravens will beat Green Bay, we'll lose to Cleveland. That's exactly what happened. And now all of this goodwill that the Steelers earned the last few weeks could go away. Now, look, I understand they're going to face a tough matchup every time that they play a team in the division. That's going to be Cleveland. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers have a shot, Jacob, if Lamar is out. But if he plays in this game, the Steelers are going to have to answer a lot of questions after the season, because I think Derrick Henry's looking like old Derrick Henry again.
Yeah, absolutely. Derrick Henry's performance against the Packers gave me kind of a lot of hope that the Ravens could potentially worm their way into the playoffs if the Steelers tripped up against the Browns. And, Henry, look, in games where Henry handles at least 20 touches, the Ravens are 6-2 this season. So the key is to just keep feeding him, especially with Lamar Jackson banged up, because if you just put the game on Henry's shoulders and just ask Lamar Jackson or Tyler Huntley, hey, can you manage this game? You're going to have a pretty good chance to win each time out. Now, looking at the Steelers side of the coin, this loss to the Browns was disappointing, but I'm also not overly surprised by it, Craig. I mean, look, we knew DK Metcalf wasn't going to play in this game. The 2-game suspension for him to close the season could have massive implications on the Steelers here, because Metcalf is really their only high-quality receiving option. And this is how you can tell it, just looking at the stats, Craig. This season, DK Metcalf has 59 receptions. That's the most by any receiver on the Steelers. Every other Steelers receiver has a combined 64 receptions. So you're talking about a guy who he's about 50% of their wide receiver production, if not more, when he's on the field. So being without him, Rodgers was forced to rely on guys like Adam Thielen, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, high veterans who've been around a long time, but they're not the same high-end playmakers. So against tough defenses, which the Browns have and the Ravens do have, might be hard for the Steelers to do a lot on offense. So a lot is going to fall on their defense to contain these opponents. They did that against the Browns, but the Steelers offense just couldn't do anything without Metcalf. That has to change if they're going to beat Baltimore.
Yeah, that's just such a big loss that you wouldn't think, but looking in the back of the end zone and that guy not being there, and also they lost their tight end, one of their tight ends in this game too. Ravens won easily, by the way, in Green Bay, in case you missed it, Saturday, 41-24. So Green Bay, certainly not going to win the division, probably up against it on the road at some point in the playoffs as well. So let's now go back here, Jacob. And, this is a very funny line to me. So every single time these two teams play, I just always take the points no matter what, because it's always 3 and that team always keeps it closer cover. So I'm not going to pivot off this at all. Ravens are favored in Pittsburgh to go to the playoffs, total 41.5. I can't imagine at kickoff that this is more than 3.5. I think this has got to go a little bit lower. If it doesn't matter to me. I'm taking Pittsburgh at home. They'll lose by 1. They'll lose by 2. Ravens may win by 3. They always play close games.
I'm with you on that one, Craig. We've seen over Mike Tomlin's lengthy career as well that as an underdog of 3 or more points, he typically, more often than not, has the Steelers competitive and either gets them a win or gets them the cover in that scenario. So if you're getting 3.5 at home, I am happy to back the Steelers there. I don't know that they ultimately win the game because, again, without Metcalf, that offense just doesn't do a whole lot. But I can't back the Ravens as favored by more than 3.5. We know Lamar Jackson's banged up. If he doesn't play, I like Tyler Huntley. I think he's a solid backup quarterback. But in that kind of do or die game, what happens if Derrick Henry gets taken away and Tyler Huntley has to win the game? So I think you're on the right track there. I think this is a complete down to the wire game where, hey, it might end on one of those 2-point conversion attempts where a team scores a touchdown, just tries to go for the win at the end. So take the points. Anytime it's Ravens Steelers, you want to take the points.
Always. And the under most times, but definitely the points in this one. So the Giants beat the Raiders 34-10. And there's this narrative that they're blowing the first pick overall in the draft. But look, these are athletes. The Giants roster versus the Raiders roster is a significant upgrade, especially without Bowers or without Crosby. I mean, what did you want the Giants to do? Not play Dart? Not play a lot of their starters? That was never going to happen. So not a surprising result for me to see the Giants. And by the way, I assume they wouldn't have taken Fernando Mendoza had they number 1 overall pick. But Jacob, what we're seeing here is unprecedented. 5 teams with 3 or less wins in the NFL this season. The Raiders leading the way at 2-14, but the Titans are looking for a new head coach at 3-13. They already have Cam Ward. Look at Arizona. Oh my gosh, what a horrendous season for them as well. I can't blame the Giants here. I mean, these teams are going to play. The Raiders basically set the mantra for what you have to do if you want to lose. You got to bench your guys. I mean, that's the only way around it. If you're going to play the top players in the league or some of them, you're going to end up winning. And that's why the Giants won.
Absolutely. And you look at the Raiders side of the coin here, it made sense for them to shut down Brock Bowers and Max Crosby, not just because, look, let's just be honest, Craig, they were tanking. They're trying to get that number 1 overall pick. They need a quarterback. They know it. But at the same time, Brock Bowers and Max Crosby have been fighting through knee injuries this season. It sounds like Max Crosby's going to need surgery. So if you're playing for that number 1 overall pick and you have banged up stars, it doesn't make sense to put them out there to risk further injury. I know Max Crosby didn't seem happy about being shut down. He's a competitor. Like you mentioned, the athletes don't like being treated that way or being treated like, hey, a loss is better. But, from the Raiders standpoint, it made sense to do that. I think to your point on the Giants, yeah, there was no way they were going to shut down Jackson Dart, who's, looked good during his rookie season. You got to get him more of those developmental reps. That's exactly what they got. They got a key win. That'll build maybe some momentum for him going into next season. And yeah, are they going to get the number 1 overall pick? Probably not at this point. But like you said, they don't need a quarterback up top there. They could have gotten maybe a king's ransom and traded down if they had the number 1 overall pick. They're still going to be positioned to land a potential blue chip type player, whether that's Arvell Reese, another edge rusher, maybe don't have a big need there. A couple of receivers out there, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson. The Giants will still have plenty of options. They're still picking early, Craig. I think this is one year where, hey, if they needed a quarterback and they lost the number 1 overall pick, it wouldn't have been well received by the fan base. But I think you can understand why they were completely okay with blowing out the Raiders yesterday.
All right, so the Patriots win 42-10. They take care of the Jets, and it was just a non-competitive game. I sat my guy Breece Hall and played Gainwell, and I'm hurting today. Jacob. I would have probably won the championship. I made the wrong move there. The Patriots, are they a legit contender, do you think, to get to the Super Bowl? Forget about winning, because who the bleep knows what's going to happen in this NFL season. Do you think the Patriots can get to the Super Bowl? I know they've had a great year, Jacob, but something tells me the Patriots, the Broncos, Jaguars, I got no idea, honestly, who is going to win this thing. Do you have them in the end? Now, when the field gets set, will you pick New England?
I probably won't pick New England to make the Super Bowl. I think they can win a playoff game or two, but I think eventually their lack of experience and their roster still does have some holes. I think that's going to come back to bite them at some point. But as long as Drake May is playing like this, they will have a legitimate chance to beat anyone. I mean, he leads the NFL in passer rating, completion percentage. He's just been so efficient throwing the ball down the field. So as long as he's playing like this, you can trust them to put up a competitive fight. But like you mentioned, the AFC is just so wide open. There are so many good teams there. A lot of good defenses, too. I think the Texans are going to be a pesky out. The Patriots, I think, if they're the number 2 seed right now, they would play the Buffalo Bills in the first round. I know the Bills haven't looked great in recent weeks, but they still have Josh Allen. So I'm not probably picking the Patriots to win the Super Bowl, but if they made the AFC Championship game, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I definitely think I would agree with you. All right, so the line tonight moved a little bit, I see. The Rams were 8.5. Now it's down to 7.5. And you got to lay some big juice here with that hook, with that 7.5 with Atlanta. The total is 49.5. Boy, seems like an unpredictable game to call here. I do think the Rams will win, but Atlanta's one of those teams that against the spread are kind of funny. Sometimes they come up big, and sometimes they look like they don't belong on the same field as their opponent.
Yeah, I think I'm on the Falcons in this one just because of the points and the fact that the Rams can't get the number 1 seed in the NFC. They might take their foot off the gas late if they build a big lead. Backdoor cover's possible.
All right, Jacob, thanks again. Happy New Year. We'll catch up soon.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way, and it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York, and now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great to have Joe Ranieri in the house. Joe's going to have to put on a sweater, I think, here in South Florida. It looks like tomorrow or the next day here. Joe, we're actually, you're going to get a little bit cooler weather than me. You live about an hour north from me, so get ready, man. It could hit 50 tomorrow. You ready for it?
50. Forget I tried to put the heat on. I thought the house was burning down. It was awful, Craig. I really, not a good situation right now. I don't even know if I have clothes for 50 degrees, to be honest with you. My goodness.
I know. It could be. Shorts have to be put to the side for a couple days here in South Florida. All right. Just like Buffalo, just as cold as Buffalo as they get their snow in. Why'd the Bills go for 2, Joe, yesterday? They lose 13-12. Was it just basically they played that game as if they kind of knew the Patriots won and there was just nothing to play for essentially there? I don't know. I'm really a loss for words, especially at home. I think on the road, isn't that when you normally take your shot where you go for the two? But why'd they do this at home? And then the Eagles, they were perplexing too on offense. Really bizarre ending to this game.
Well, the second it goes to what these two teams have been all year long. The Eagles very head scratching offensively, but they have a championship quality defense. Listen, the Bills have been atrocious in the first half of games this year, especially at home, Craig. 1-7 against the number. But they have been an ATM machine in the second half because I don't know what takes them a whole half to get, to figure it out and get it going. But they did the same thing yesterday. And for Jalen Hurts not to complete a pass in the second half, I mean, basically to get outgained by almost 200 yards in that second half is just head scratching. Now, listen, you got a kicker that you signed off the street because Prater was hurt. He had already missed an extra point, which puts you in that position. Are you really rolling this unproven kid out there again? And if he misses that one, not only do you lose, but you don't get the overtime. I agree with it. The best player on the field was Josh Allen. He just missed the play. He just missed the throw. It was wide open. It was the right call. Just didn't execute.
The Eagles right now, basically, if you bet them to go any further than the opening round, you got some potential to make some money here because the divisional round, if they lose on FanDuel, it's plus 260. Conference championship plus 460. Super Bowl, you can get 10-1 if they get back there. And to win the Super Bowl, they are plus 850. Now, Joe, let's take a look at the NFC playoff picture. We've got the number one seed as of now, potentially the Seahawks. And again, they got to take care of business against the 49ers. You see the 1 and the 5 could swap out there. Rams are at the 6. They'll play the Eagles most likely. Packers go to the Bears for the playoffs. And then if the Panthers take care of the Bucks, then they would host the 49ers, or it looks like maybe the Rams or the Seahawks. So there's like one position TBD, but I think at this point you got to get a feel for what the NFC is going to look like.
I think you've got a pretty good idea, right? I think you've got Seattle. I think you got the NFC West is pretty much the interesting, the NFC side of the equation. I mean, can the 49ers, with all the injuries and all they had to go through this year, the idea that the Super Bowl is in their stadium to begin with, can they actually do the unthinkable, run the table, and get home field advantage throughout the NFC? Clearly, the defense is an issue, but the 49ers have no problem dropping 40 points on anybody, it appears. I think this is a huge Week 18 game against Seattle because we're going to learn. Listen, it's one thing to do it against a bunch of bottom feeder teams. That's the schedule the 49ers had. Can you do it against this Seattle defense, which is legit a championship quality defense? We'll see.
Definitely so. Meanwhile, over in the AFC, the Jaguars take care of the Colts. The Colts started the season 7-1. They're going to miss the playoffs, which is insane. The Bears did this many years ago, back in 2012. It just doesn't happen that often in the NFL. But the Jaguars are playing like one of the best teams in the AFC. And, the thing is for me, Joe, I've talked about it a ton, picking the Jaguars at the beginning of the season to go to the Super Bowl. I feel like I got a shot here. But the thing to me, and I know it happened again yesterday where the Bills fell flat, but Joe, having Josh Allen to me is the equalizer for all of these teams in the National Football League. Like, that is the one guy that I think can easily just go on the road 3 games and get to the Super Bowl. Let's take a look at the AFC picture. I mean, who do you like here? Denver as the number 1 seed? I don't trust them. I mean, I kind of trust the Patriots a little bit, but if they have to play the Bills, I think the Bills could win. Chargers, Jaguars, whatever. Houston, I mean, maybe. I mean, would Houston win game 1 because of their defense on the road? Yeah, probably getting a few points and winning. And the Ravens, even with Lamar Jackson, to me, don't look like a Super Bowl team, even if they were somehow to get in.
No, they're not. Listen, Houston doesn't have the offense to be considered in the can they run the table. Great championship defense, but much like the Eagles, can't trust them offensively against the elite teams here. I do think Buffalo, depending on that foot of Josh Allen's, I don't think we're going to see him against the Jets this weekend. But, how healthy is that foot going to be? I think Denver needs home field advantage more so than anybody else because we've seen them be a different team at home. So if the Super Bowl through the AFC goes through Denver, I like their chances. But it could be anybody's game here when it's all said and done.
All right, you going to play tonight's game or are you going to wait till Ohio State, Miami on Wednesday? What do you want to do?
I got to go Ohio State and Miami. I have no idea in this game tonight. All of the trends tell me do not bet against McVay on Monday night in December in prime time off a loss. But the market is telling me everyone is jumping on the Falcons and the points. I got a better idea. Why don't we just back the University of Miami, take the 9.5 points, and take the over in the Cotton Bowl because that is likely going to be a better game anyway.
Is that your New Year's Eve plans this year, Joe? I mean, anything? Are you going to just? I mean, if they stick these games, like I feel like I got to watch them on New Year's Eve. It's like all my plans that I had. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I think I got to stay home and watch the game. So I'm there with you.
Absolutely.
Do you want to change it? Any? I don't know who you picked at the beginning of the season to win the Super Bowl. Do you want to change it at this point? Here are the odds.
The problem is the Rams are to me, they are the most complete team, but my goodness, I got to see a little more effort on the defensive side of the ball. Looks like they're getting worse each week on the defense.
Yeah, very strange season in the NFL. Should be a fun playoffs. Joe, Happy New Year.
Enjoy. Happy New Year.
Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a joke on me, Joe.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Who is that?
Here, but I have no idea.
You need to know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Already been doing some work in golf, doing some work in racing, and he said, dial into this call. And they put up this deck about what TGL is going to be. This is like 4 years ago at this point. And I was like, how have I not seen this on social? This is the Tiger's involved, Rory's involved. There's a screen. I was like, this is crazy. We were all texting each other like, is this for real? And that's really where it started.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
My problem with the Raiders is I think they're one of the worst teams in NFL history right now.
In history?
Joe,
Cleveland had some bad teams.
Joe, they had 75 yards against the Eagles. And it wasn't surprising.
Yeah. Outside of Brock Bowers, what do they have? Trey Tucker, Ashton Genty in the offensive line.
This moment of the Raiders, they just feel so lifeless.
Need a quarterback.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We're going to hear from Rich Sermonillo. He's got a preview of the upcoming bowl games. That includes today's 2 o'clock Eastern game, Georgia Southern, Appalachian State in the Birmingham Bowl. Wow, there's a bowl game at 2 p.m. Eastern. Here's a preview of the rest of the bowl games with Rich.
Craig, we're in the home stretch of the postseason in college football. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit sad. I've enjoyed the bowls. I know it's not what a lot of people really want, a lot of opt-outs and so on and so forth. But from a gambling standpoint, it's been a good postseason. Thank you, Hawaii and BYU last week. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. I was fortunate in both of those cases. Hawaii BYU, some comebacks, got the covers there for those two games. But let's look ahead to the quarterfinals in college football, Wednesday and Thursday. Super excited about these 4 games. But before we get to that, I want to give you a couple of picks that are a little bit off the radar. By the way, very chalky this week. I love a lot of favorites. Going to begin with Utah. Utah plays Nebraska. I like the Utes despite a big number, laying 2 touchdowns. For me, this is about Morgan Scalley. He's the new coach for Utah. I kind of like the fact that Kyle Whittingham decided not to coach this game. He's moving on to Michigan. I think that's one less distraction for Utah. This is the beginning of the Morgan Scalley era. He's been there for 2 decades, former player, assistant under Whittingham for 2 decades. I think this is his chance to make a statement that this is my program. He's going to put a stamp on it. He's got the better personnel. Nebraska, no Dylan Raiola at quarterback. TJ Lateef, the backup, not 100%. Still don't know if he's going to play. He's a true freshman, by the way, anyway. Utah's got Devin Dampier. They have Bird Ficklin at quarterback. I just think a massive difference in talent. Utah wins big, north of 20 points. I also like Texas State against Rice. Another big number, giving 2 touchdowns. Rice without their quarterback. They run the triple option, Craig. Chase Jenkins in the transfer portal, not playing. I think Rice struggles here. Texas State finished in November with a flurry, won their final 3 games, all of their offensive talent back. It looked for a while like their head coach, G.J. Kinney, might be gone. He's back as well. Give me the Bobcats laying 2 touchdowns. Now, the big games, 4 games, I like all of the favorites. I sort of hate to say that, but I like these numbers. Ohio State against Miami, laying 9.5. Give me the Buckeyes. That defense against Carson Beck and the Miami offense, I think, is too much. Ohio State has not given up more than 16 points all year. Look at what Miami did against Texas A&M. Impressive win on the road, but just 10 points. I think they struggle against the Ohio State. I think both offenses struggle, by the way, but this could be something in the neighborhood of a 26-13 game. I'm taking Ohio State. Now, the one game, if I'm going to take a dog, it would possibly be Texas Tech. I'm still leaning towards Oregon in the Orange Bowl. But these are 2 very close. I think this is going to be the most competitive game, an instant classic possibly in Miami. Very close, these 2 teams. But when push comes to shove, I'm always going to lean towards the team with the better quarterback and the more experienced head coach. For me, that's Oregon, Dan Lanning and Dante Moore. This could go either way. I think if I have to take a dog, it's Texas Tech, but I'm going to lean towards Oregon. Now, Rose Bowl, Indiana, Alabama. If you forget the histories for a moment, Craig, and you scrap the uniforms, it's kind of obvious to me that Indiana is a substantially better team, laying under a touchdown. If you can get 6.5, I'm going to lay these points with Indiana. I just think they're a better team from top to bottom. Alabama, when you look at the last month, I haven't really seen an impressive or a full 60-minute game out of the Tide. They can't run the ball. 120th in the country running the ball. You need balance to beat Indiana. I think Pasadena, Indiana rolls. It won't get ugly, but I think Indiana by double digits here. And finally, I think Ole Miss, Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, first all SEC Sugar Bowl, by the way, Craig, since 1964. I think this is going to be competitive for a half, and then Georgia pulls away. Another relatively low number, 6.5. You can get with Georgia. They were so hot down the stretch. Credit to Ole Miss, did a good job in Pete Golding's first game. But I think Georgia's more complete, both offensively and defensively. Close for a half. Georgia pulls away. So I like all of the favorites. I think it's going to be a rematch of Indiana-Oregon. And I think it's going to be a classic between Georgia and Ohio State. But again, the one caveat, keep an eye on Texas Tech. This is a legit team that can get to the semis.
Marvel Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a joke on me, Joe.
Yeah, yeah, that's going to be interesting
Who is that?
here, but I have
Who's
no
Arvell Reese?
idea.
You need to know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Already been doing some work in golf, doing some work in racing. And he said, dial into this call. And they put up this deck about what TGL is going to be. This is like 4 years ago at this point. And I was like, how have I not seen this on social? This is the Tiger's involved, Rory's involved. There's a screen. I was like, this is crazy. We were all texting each other like, is this for real? And that's really where it started.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
My problem with the Raiders is I think they're one of the worst teams in NFL history right now.
In history?
Joe,
Cleveland had some bad teams.
Joe, they had 75 yards against the Eagles. And it
That
wasn't
was
surprising.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
wasn't
outside of Brock
surprising.
Bowers, what do they have? Trey Tucker, Ashton Genty and the offensive line.
This moment of the Raiders, they just feel so lifeless.
Need a quarterback.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Our SportsGrid insider Adam Kaplan is with us to go over the latest in the National Football League as we have a pretty clear picture of the NFL. We've got 2 win or go home games, but other than that, everybody's pretty much in. So Adam, I think, it'll be drama filled, I think, a little this weekend. Really good job by the schedule makers, by the way, giving us one of these on Saturday and one of them on Sunday. I don't think they could have got away with Bucks Panthers on Sunday night. I could have watched it, but I think the country prefers the other game too. So let's get started here and talk about what we know. We know that the Eagles have won the division, and so that's certainly good for them. They didn't look great against Buffalo. I thought it was odd that the Bills went for 2 at the end of that game. It's just one of those seasons. It's funny, we kid around with your circle of trust. It's very thin this year. I think anything can happen in the end, and I think we're going to probably find that out pretty quickly in the playoffs.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk about the Patriots, or we should, and this is what we love about this game and the sport. Is right when you think you know, you don't know. I mean, I could poll 31 other teams. Most of them would have said the Patriots wouldn't be a playoff team, and here we are. They still have a shot at the number 1 seed. They won their division, the AFC. So you can't know that to start the season. You could talk all you want about Mike Vrabel being a great coach, but in that same division, the Bills lose a game where if Eagles dominated the first half, I mean, Eagles should have been up way more than 13-0. They got cheated with a missed call when Tre'Davious White, the corner for the Bills, Craig, held A.J. Brown's hand. He pulled his hand back, and the other hand, because I was like, why is he trying to catch with one hand? Oh, on the replay, we saw what happened. So, yeah, it was a wild day. So, yeah, Philly is a good win. It came down to the wire. Though I think what happened there, Craig, this is my gut feeling, knowing Sean McDermott. Michael Badgley already got 1 kick blocked, the fill-in kicker. He's a third-string kicker for the Bills. The thing is probably, why are we going to try again with him when we've got Josh Allen at quarterback?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. But again, in that spot, you are at home. Typically, you don't see teams go for 2 at home to win. A lot of times on the road, you try to steal it.
Yeah, sure.
No pun intended with the Steelers, who,
oh boy,
my gosh, fell so flat against Cleveland. And look, DK Metcalf was a huge part of this. I think Pittsburgh knows exactly what they need to attack, by the way, in the offseason. They got to get, I mean, they had one in Pickens, but they got to get another receiver. I mean, you can't just have one receiver in the NFL, and that's the deal. Every time they got near the goal line, you could see Aaron Rodgers just so frustrated. Credit to Pittsburgh for developing that running game that they have with those 2 guys. But this is not a league anymore where you could just run and score 6 points. Like, you got to score more points, and it's going to happen Sunday night against Baltimore for them to get in.
Yeah, and they've been trying Roman Wilson. Roman Wilson was the third rounder last year. He didn't do anything wrong, but Mike Tomlin's hard on young players. He had a couple injuries, I'm told, last year, and never been able to get the confidence of Aaron Rodgers. And you take away Metcalf, who has to serve the second game of his 2-game suspension. Darnell Washington, their blocking tight end, who's probably close to 300 pounds, broke his forearm, so they lose him. TJ Watt didn't play in this game against Cleveland. I understand when the line closed, right? I'm like, wow, the Steelers are like a 2.5-point favorite, depending which book you look at. I get it though, because they're running out of players, and you saw that they were totally inept. And their hope is that TJ Watt can play in this game this weekend, because their season comes down to this game, which 2 weeks ago it seemed like they were a shoo-in. This is the craziness, Craig. As you and I go through this journey of the season, right when you think something's a lock, it's not a lock. And that's what the networks want. That's what the NFL wants, this so-called competitive balance.
Yeah, definitely so. And look, there's a lot of storylines of the season. I mean, I cannot imagine sitting here with you in October and saying, "Hey, Adam, guess what's going to happen? The Colts are not going to make it." You'd be like, "Get out of here! They're gonna have a chance to go far, not even making the playoffs." Derrick Henry, he had a Derrick Henry game against Packers. They are 3.5-point road favorites against Pittsburgh. I've given you my theory on this before, and I will, and I'll never stop. I'm always taking the points in the series, so I will take Pittsburgh immediately plus these points and just assume it's going to come right down to the end, because it does every single time these two teams play. Now, the total, I'm not sure because of Lamar Jackson. Certainly that could change the dynamic of this game, but I expect Pittsburgh to show up. I expect them to play much better. Generally in the NFL, decent teams, when they have a bad week, they bounce back with a good week. I'm not saying that Pittsburgh is going to win, but historically in this series, taking the points is always the way to go.
It should be a tough one. We also have to look at weather. That's always a factor in late December, early January. And we saw that in a number of games over the recent weeks. But getting back to the Steelers here, TJ Watt's health coming back from the collapsed lung. I mean, he started working last week. They're different defense without him. They were down a couple corners in that game. They just could not do anything right. But their season is on the line here. If Watt could play, he's playing. If he could play at 50% health or effectiveness, he's going to have to play. If he knows he can go out there, he'll play. They need him back there. There's no question about it. Their edge rush group, it's just different without him. Offensive line, they were down 2 guys. Isaac Seumalo didn't play, who's their best guard. It's kind of like at this point, Craig, if you're the Steelers, if you can't run it well, you probably won't win. Kenny Gainwell's been a great story. No question about it. Jaylen Warren has done a good job to close the season, but you can't put it on all of those guys. Their passing game, it's not really a Rodgers issue. You said it very well. They don't have a number 2 receiver. Their number 1 receiver is suspended, and they have nothing they can get done. And Arthur Smith is not the most creative play caller. I know it's not easy to deal with what he's dealing with, but I don't want to put my season on the line with Arthur Smith calling plays, bottom line.
Yeah, probably the case. Same thing could be said for the Packers. Look, here's what I'm confused about, Adam, is that I'm hearing a lot of, once they lost Micah Parsons, and I want to say, like, they didn't have him last year. What is going on with their defense, man? Like, I mean, he was not on the team last season, okay? So you cannot use that. Their offense is certainly putting up enough points to keep them in the game. It appears to me as though they're just reduced now to throwing the ball constantly. Obviously, Josh Jacobs is hurt well more than we even know is going on. I mean, they're not even giving this guy carries in the game, so something is going on there. But it's defensively, they just can't stop anybody.
So the reason why they made the Parsons trade, because their pass rush they knew was not going to win them a Super Bowl. So they went for it, gave up a lot of compensation. And obviously without him, they're not the same team. And they by the way, they were really beat up. Josh Jacobs has been dealing with a knee issue for several weeks and a little bit of an ankle issue. A little bit banged up at receiver. But corner, Nate Hobbs, who was their big free agent signee, he re-injured his knee. They're down a couple defensive tackles. They're just beat up. They're limping into the playoffs at the 7th seed. There's certain things that we kind of know going to the playoffs, where a team is like, you never want to say a team has no shot, but the Packers have next to no shot to win a Super Bowl this year. They're just too beat up. You could, like Jordan Love, like a quarterback can get hot, covering this business for 27 years. The quarterback could carry you, but you can't. He's not going to carry you and cover up every single ward. That's just the way it is. You can't cover up every single ward here. And the Packers right now are so beat up. They're limping in here. They're struggling heading into the playoffs. But the Colts one, I want to get back to that because you and I talked about this a number of weeks ago. I want people to understand here. Daniel Jones, right? He's coming out from a torn Achilles. They don't have a first-round pick next year. I've already done my research and talked to people around the league on the quarterback group. The only way you're really getting a quarterback is the draft, okay, and free agency. The problem is the Colts are not picking. They're not picking they're not picking up far enough. This is not on surface, from what I'm told, a good quarterback group, but the underclassmen have not totally declared yet. But if you're the Colts right now, you're in quarterback purgatory. Rivers is not coming back. I mean, they're pretty clear that this is a fun thing. So they're in trouble here. I just don't know. I mean, if you want to be a middling team because they have a good defense, they're well coached, but they don't have a quarterback. When you don't have a quarterback, you know this. You've covered the league. When you don't have a quarterback, you cannot win. You're just not going to be able to overcome that.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked that they have pivoted away so hard from Richardson. Like, I knew that he didn't deserve to start, but you don't even hear his name. I mean, they just drafted him 2 years ago. Like, it's crazy to me. Patriots 8-0 on the road. They're going to be one of the favorites to win the AFC, but again, a team that could get upset, I think, at any time too.
100%. That's the team. And it's really, you and I have talked about my circle of trust. We'll talk more about this in segment 2. If you can get in this year, you can make a run. That's just the way it is as long as you're healthy. But it's definitely been very surprising what's happened with the Patriots. I want to talk about that when we come back. There's a lot to unpack.
Okay, we'll do that next.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way, and it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York, and now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Hopefully you stuck around from a couple of minutes ago. Adam wanted to talk about the New England Patriots, who I would agree are the favorite to win the Super Bowl along with every other team in the NFL. That's the way that I see it right now. But like they are right there with Carolina, Like I have no idea this season who is going to win. I don't think home field means anything. As I said with you last week, I'll say it even though they lost again this week. To me, until they knock out Josh Allen, I won't bet against him. But other than that, I don't know. I have no clue. NFL. So Patriots,
great quarterback play, Craig. Yeah, great quarterback play. I mean, Joe Flacco in 2012. when he was elite during that Super Bowl run when they won in New Orleans. I was there. It's one of the best runs I've ever seen. He was just an okay quarterback regular season, but if it's like a hockey goalie, if you get hot in the playoffs, get on a roll, you can uplift your team in a big way. But getting to New England, I mean, you and I could grade our 3 biggest surprises. Jaguars are number 2. We've talked about that. Liam Cohen, the job he's done.
He's not a surprise.
Mike Vrabel's a special coach. There's no question. But I've talked to so many coaches or front office executives or people who know that team when they've gone against, after they've gone against them before, they have a ton of respect for Vrabel and the coaching staff. And the execution, it's just not a very talented roster, Craig. That's on your point. This is the confusing part. You made a great point a bunch of weeks ago. If you're a futures player, just take like 6 teams. Don't take 2, because you're going to get. Doesn't matter. We know what it looks like right now. It's very even. There's no one even close to dominant. The Rams are a good team. They played tonight against the Falcons. They're not elite. They're not dominant. I would probably take the best odds of the top 6 or 8 teams and go with that if you're only going to do 1 or 2 teams. But the Patriots, to me, if they get the number 1 seed, great for them. They could lose at home in the first round. There's no question about it. It's just Drake May is. I got to vote in a couple polls soon. I got to think about him and Stafford for MVP. I've been going with Stafford forever. I got to I'm not going to rethink it. I got to look that over. But Drake May is so far ahead of what they thought he would be early in his career. This is a guy, Craig, that you poll people before the draft, didn't like him, haphazard, inaccurate, tries to be a hero, don't know how coachable he is, though he's a great kid. I mean, look at the job that Josh McDaniels has done. This is one of the best stories I've seen, not only this season, in recent years, where, yeah, I get the odds makers had it. 8.5 was the win total. I looked it up. I liked under. I just didn't see it, because you got to look at the talent level. But coaching matters, man. Liam Cohen, I've talked to people who work with him. They weren't sure. I know it's only 1 year. Next year they could be bad. But this is great coaching. This is why teams could be better than above their means. It's a remarkable job. I got to do Coach of the Year too. That's a tough one, man. I don't know where to go with that one.
Yeah, it is tough. It won't be Todd Bowles. They play 4:30 p.m. Eastern against Carolina. And I mean, honestly, I don't know what's happened here. I really don't know. The team seemed to play better with Rashad White and Egbuka getting the ball all the time, and then that stopped, and I don't know why. Their defense creates like no turnovers whatsoever, and I know that's somewhat of lucky. And I know the Panthers just got smashed in the second half by Seattle, but why do I think this is a really easy Carolina win in Tampa Bay? I don't know what has gone on with the Bucs. I have no faith in them at all.
They're the biggest regression this season by far, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The roster is way more talented than they've shown. They're, to me, on paper, a 11 or 12 win team. I understand they've had a terrible run here for 2 months. But you just talked about it, and I'll further this a little bit. They're the healthiest they've been all season. What's the excuse here? Todd Bowles is Mr. Blitz when I can't get home with 4. They can't get home. They don't force turnovers. It's puzzling to me. And they have the first-year coordinator, a young guy in his mid-30s. It looked great earlier first half. Their offense has regressed significantly. Yet Mike Evans is back, Mr. Red Zone, and he and Baker Mayfield have done great work together. Godwin might not be the same player, but he's still a very good slot receiver. You mentioned Egbuka. McMillan, the kid came back from the neck injury. Hit a breakout game. This is the most puzzling. We know what the Colts are. We know why they regressed. I'm with you. This is we'll certainly do this on Game Time Decisions and whatever shows I'm on this week. But I need to find out more on this. What has happened to the Bucs? I don't get it. It's the only one I don't quite have a handle on why they've been so bad.
Yeah. I mean, the first 6 weeks, I can tell you that Egbuka caught passes of 50 and 70 and 40 and 50, and then that went away. Like, it was just gone. Like, explosives, I guess that's what they call it. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So last night, one of the games of the year, probably top 5 game at least. 49ers, maybe higher. 49ers beat the Bears. Brock Purdy was fantastic. I thought Caleb Williams was fantastic. Ben Johnson's got these 2 running backs now. They look really good too. It feels like the Lions, but kind of feeling like the Lions a little bit too, in the sense, Adam, that they got to get this defense shoring up a little bit before the playoffs. They'll be fortunate, I guess, to get a home game here. I think the Bears will win one playoff game. I feel confident in that.
this is another puzzling stat, right? They're number one in turnover differential, plus 22. Yet they keep getting smoked in their secondary. They're giving up big play after big play. You saw what Joe Burrow did. I understand it's Joe Burrow, but they've had a number of games where their defense hasn't shown up. Because I was blown away by the fact that the Bears were so resilient in that game last night. Looks like they're going to get blown out. Nope. Kept scoring. Got the lead late and blew it. Kyler Gordon, their nickel defenders on an injury reserve, that's certainly a problem. But if they don't get home at all, they have no chance with their pass rush. If they don't get home, they don't have a great pass rush. It's kind of a statistical anomaly being plus 22, but yet giving way too many big plays lately. So, yeah, look, being at home for them will be great in the first round, and that's going to happen. But the bottom line is, with Chicago, they're a first-year head coach. Ben Johnson's another Coach of the Year candidate. I'm telling you, man, I'm going to have to crowdsource for this one. This is very tough to vote for Coach of the Year.
Yeah. So the Raiders are obviously the worst team, one of the worst in the history of the NFL, because the 0-16 Lions were more competitive than they were. But I know another team, by the way, I've told you for weeks about this, Adam, that's flying under the radar, Arizona. How do you explain this? How do you explain the Cardinals being on the doorstep of the #1 overall pick? Wow.
And they need a quarterback, and so do the Raiders. It's tank for Mendoza time. But yeah, the early word I got, and we're going to talk more about this in NewsWire in the coming week, is not a real good quarterback, even from the underclassmen.
Yeah. All right, Adam, have a good week. Happy New Year.
You too. New Year.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way, and it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York. And now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. So we have 2 football games today, bowl game at 2 p.m. Eastern, and then we've got Monday Night Football. There's a host of bowl games, by the way, tomorrow, including Tennessee, Illinois. Actually, some of the better late bowl games in the season appear this week before the college football playoff and then after a little bit as well. We will get to one of the bowls that transpired over the weekend, also a missed kick at halftime, which we discussed last week. And a very interesting Chicago Bears fan is out there, more interesting than I have seen in a long time. It's time now for some last licks. There is a Chicago Bears fan that has taken his fandom to a new level. We've seen a lot of different fans do a lot of different things. This is a first for me. So this fan that is a Bears fan has 167 different signatures of the history of the Chicago Bears and their players. That's pretty cool. What he has chosen to do is to get these signatures in Sharpie, normal, on his body. That is correct. And then after they sign, he gets a tattoo to make the signature official on his body. I've seen a lot of guys and girls tatted up. If that's your thing, great. I don't have any personally. But to get signatures tattooed is not a new thing. Fans do this all the time. To get 167 of them throughout your whole body, that's definitely a new thing. So this officially becomes one of the crazier NFL fans that I've seen in a really long time. Getting tattoos of signatures all over your body. Congrats to him. And by the way, I'm guessing that in the history of the Chicago Bears, are there 167 autographs that you want in the history of the Chicago Bears? Like, I definitely think, rest in peace, Walter Payton, who he probably doesn't have. That's a great one. Maybe Jim McMahon, maybe the Fridge, maybe Mike Singletary, right? Like, those are some really good names as well. Maybe Matt Forte, remember him? I don't know that I could come up with 100, let alone 200, but that's what this guy has chosen to do. Good luck to him. Okay, over the weekend, the Pop-Tarts Bowl took center stage. They, in fact, retired a couple of Pop-Tarts to the stadium in Orlando. Actually, a really funny scene. And one of the Pop-Tarts, by the way, this was so funny. They actually have done the best marketing bowl job in a really long time. One of the Pop-Tarts, slamming strawberry, right before going in the toaster, jumped off the stage. What was this? Was this like what was this all about? I have no idea. I watched the video several times. The person who's dressed up, obviously. Now, again, when they end up eating the Pop-Tart, it's not the person anymore. It's staged. They jump into the box, and then the Pop-Tarts come out, and then you saw BYU's head coach eating the Pop-Tart. But one of the Pop-Tarts, slamming strawberry, dove off the back of the stage onto some sort of jumping mechanism and then bailed and said that he did not want to be toasted during the Pop-Tarts. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. We're still talking about this 4 days after a bowl game. That's pretty cool, too. Pop-Tarts Bowl, one of the very few bowls probably that will be back next year. I'm sad to say I think we're coming to the end of bowl season as soon as next year. All right, as we come to the end of the show, over the weekend, we were waiting in anticipation to see if Ashley Castaño-Gervasi was going to end up knocking down this field goal at halftime. Remember, the Jets told her she could not participate in the halftime competition because she was a soccer player, and then they relented and let her kick this field goal where she could have earned $100,000 if she made the 30-yard field goal. And it was a nice story because, again, it was for her late father, etc., who was a season ticket holder. So it did not have a happy ending unless you are the Jets. And I'm guessing maybe the Jets will probably make right on this anyway. But anyway, she took the 30-yard field goal kick and missed for $100,000. A lot of people on social media saying that they should just give her the money. But if they do that, then they're sort of obligated to make right with everybody that makes this attempt and misses the field goal. So Ashley, she got her shot. She did not make it. 30-yard field goal missed. And so now we'll have to wait, I guess, for Gronk to do this in the Super Bowl. Didn't Gronk do this last couple of years? He made it 2 years ago. And then I think he missed, if I'm not mistaken, in last year's Super Bowl as well. All right, that'll do it for the show today. I want to thank our great guests here on the program. They include Vinny Iyer from Sporting News, Jacob Kamaker from USA Today, SportsGrid's Joe Ranieri, and of course our SportsGrid insider, Adam Kaplan. And for those of you who are streaming our show, thanks so much. If you're watching on a TV, maybe a brand new TV that you got for the holidays, here's what you can do. You can watch us on your phone or your iPad as well. Just take out your phone, whether you have iOS or Android, and just scan this QR code. It's on your screen. And so in addition to watching on your free TV, you can also watch on the SportsGrid app, which is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, streaming all of our shows. Hopefully you can download it and catch us for the holiday season. Speaking of which, we're back here for another edition of NewsWire tomorrow. We're actually off New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, but I will see you tomorrow. Thanks again to Luke, and for my producer Frank, I'm Craig Mish. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. See you tomorrow here on NewsWire.